the past week, I've made pretty much every mistake you could make as a beginner artist. I was skipping fundamentals, planning poorly, getting over ambitious, putting the milk before the cereal, you know, all those things. To be completely honest with you, this video is actually meant to be following this journey of me making something cool. Once I got far enough into the project, I was like, hold on. This actually sucks nuts. I'm literally making all of the mistakes I've been told not to do, and thus this video was born. So come along with me, and I'll show you the journey of me being a dingus. Okay, so this was the original plan this week. I was going to design a character and just make a small animation out of them. My ultimate goal in life is to make my own animated television show, and this was gonna be my first step towards doing that. So obviously the first step was coming up with the character. There's been this running joke between my friend Terry and I, shout out to Terry, of this old British lady who runs this orphanage, and when like one of the little orphan kids comes up and like asks for more supper, he's like, "May I have some more, please?" She stands there like, "No!" and like is really mean to them. It's funnier when you're there. Anyways, I wanted to draw this old lady, so I started the character design. The entirety of my research consisted of me typing in old British lady on the internet and finding a picture to use as reference for my design. So I came out with this rough design for her head and face, and you know, it wasn't bad. This was a decent start. I got something going here. The next thing that I decided to do was design the pose that she'd be in. This is where the mistakes start. From the literal start to this project, it was doomed. I did not fully think the pose and the movement through, and it just did not make any sense. So without looking back, I went through with my pose and sketched the 3 main frames of this, you know, bending forward movement. This was quite a challenge for me, and I was honestly having a very tough time figuring out the anatomy. I had to constantly get up and like try to work out the poses myself. Like I was like hitting that shit, but for some reason I just didn't think to, you know, record my movement I was doing and, you know, put it up on my laptop or something and reference it. Like I totally should have done that, but I took it upon myself, an extremely novice artist, and just decided that I could do it from memory and just kind of work it out without any reference. Overall, all of my mistakes stem from... As I mentioned, this was doomed from the start. The first reason, as I said, the pose and movement just didn't make any sense. And second, it didn't even matter if it did make sense because I couldn't get the basic structure down. If I can't get the proper proportions and anatomy right, everything else is gonna look terrible. I should have taken time to get this right, use proper reference, so at the very least, if I have a hard time doing the rest of it, this is correct. But, of course, I decided to ignore all that, and I moved on to the next step. The next thing I did was like a full character design with the body and the clothes and shit. I actually thought it looked pretty good, like it was solid, and it probably gave me just enough confidence to think that this would actually work out. So now we're on to the next night, and in my mind, it was time to take all of the designs that I made and actually apply them and create the sketches for the animation. And you know, it was actually going okay. I was having a good time. It was still kind of a challenge. I was trying to work out these poses that made little sense to me. You know, the first 2 frames actually came out decently, like this slight lean forward that she's doing, and it looks fine. Like this was okay. This is not good. And this is definitely not good. What is this? Why is her head so big? I didn't know what I was doing. Luckily, I had one shred of awareness, and I knew this 4th frame was not gonna work. And so I was like, these 3 work though. This will be good. I got rid of the bad one. And my next move was time to digitize them, baby. Let's get animating. So I took a picture of my sketches to use as reference and brought them over to my computer and whipped out the old drawing pad. I'm sure you're noticing some patterns here because another huge mistake that I made was all of the work that I've done so far, character design, pose sketches, frame sketches, all of this has taken place over 2 nights. I mean, maybe if I was very experienced, I could, you know, whip up a character design, draw a few frames, get them on the computer, make a little animation in a night. But I'm not that. I'm a little baby artist. It's weird. I am super new and I am rushing through this entire process way too quickly because all I could think about was having this final product I envisioned in my head. I just wanted to get that. I just wanted to get it done. Now, I'm not saying I shouldn't try to make animations and I shouldn't take some big steps like this and just draw like gesture drawings all the time. But if I'm gonna try to make some animations, I have to make sure and prioritize that the basic framework and fundamental poses and everything make sense and like look good. What I really needed was patience and being prepared for working at these poses and everything for a lot longer than I did. And this mistake leads into the next part of my journey where I have no idea how to use a drawing pad or Adobe Animate. But doggone it, if I wasn't gonna finish this animation by the next few days, then I'd be damned. I actually have used Adobe Animate in the past a tiny bit to make some little animations that I like traced over things, so it wasn't even really drawing at all. So I was a little familiar with the user interface. However, I had never actually done a hand-drawn animation on it before. Like, how do you draw like straight lines? All of my lines were so shaky. I was like, how do they do that? I'm like, please, just everything just looked so rough, and I had a real tough time getting used to the digital pen. Also, I was struggling so much to draw feet. How do you draw feet? I couldn't get them in the right perspective. I had to grab one of my shoes to try to use as the perspective, but I was kind of half-assing that too. To be completely honest, I was not trying that hard to get these feet right, hence this. I know I'll get used to the drawing pad with time, and I could have easily looked up how to draw better lines on Animate and draw better perspective with the feet and the pose and everything, but I just ignored all of that because I just wanted to get the final product done. At the end of the day, even if I could draw nice lines, even if I could draw nice feet, it doesn't even matter because the base design and structure is so flawed. Are you seeing now how all these mistakes are just starting to stack up on each other? Anyways, I got some of the character done and called it a night. I brought this up a few times throughout the video, but my fourth big mistake was I was driven to complete the final product, and I was not going to stop at any point. So many times throughout this project, I should have gone back and reworked the design, but I was just motivated to get this done. And to be completely honest, I just generally didn't feel like going back and having to redo stuff, even if it would have paid off in the long run. So that night, I continued cranking on the animation. While I was struggling a lot, I actually was having a good time trying to figure this out. I had the jams going. The vibes were good. I was doing my thing. I was drawing. I was out here making stuff. But as I continued to work on this, I started realizing all the problems with my designs. Dude, I can't fucking... I kept trying to fix it a bit and hit some sweet poses in the mirror, but ultimately it only helped a small amount. And this, ladies and gentlemen, was the turning point in the process. This is when the video idea shifted from making a character animation to making every single mistake possible. I got to a moment of realization eventually as I was trying to fix this hot mess, and I was like, you know, guys, I'm starting to think this isn't gonna work. This is kind of bad, actually. I allowed myself to take a step back and actually reflect on all the mistakes that I've been making along the way. Now, you might think this was a low moment for me, but it was actually quite the opposite. First of all, this was a much better video idea, honestly. I didn't really have an amazing idea of where it was originally going, and this was me documenting all the mistakes I was making as a beginner going through this process. Secondly, I wasn't really stressing over the animation anymore. I was like, listen, I know this is bad, but, you know, I'm just gonna finish this up. Who cares? So I gave myself a little break, ate some yogurt, watched a little anime, recharged myself, and I finished up the animations. I even did more than I intended to and made this 12-second scene with some very rough background drawings and side characters. After all my hard work trying to figure out how to make this old lady slightly lean forward and just days of being confused and trying to figure out how this pose works and just getting frustrated with the drawing pad, I had finally achieved my final product.
Professor? I need to take a piece. No!
So yeah, that's the video. There it is, folks. I hope that you enjoyed it. Honestly, even though it's bad, there's a part of me that's kind of proud of myself. Over the years of wanting to find a way to start to do this, I finally created a character and, you know, animated their mouth and made an actual animated scene. So it was kind of cool to me. I have my first little scene that I made. And even though the process was kind of rough, I had a great time doing it. I was having myself a ball. The voice acting was hilarious and like tons of fun to play around with. It was a breath of fresh air exporting the animation and editing it on Premiere, adding that little zoom with some motion blur. I actually edit videos professionally, so after days of struggling with drawing, it just felt good to, you know, get to that final stage. Throughout this project, I made 4 big beginner mistakes: poor planning, lack of fundamentals, taking shortcuts, and focusing too much on the final product. I'm honestly super happy I did this whole thing because I was able to recognize these mistakes, and going forward, I'm gonna be just a little better. Am I gonna make these mistakes again? Yeah, probably. Probably gonna make them a lot. But hey, gotta make a lot of mistakes to not make mistakes. And as I said, no matter how rough it is, I did finish my first ever little animated story, and I'm pretty happy with that. I hope this was able to help any other beginners or just anyone at all that are running into these same problems. If you're an experienced artist and you don't make these mistakes anymore, I hope it was at least entertaining to watch me be a doofus. So that's the end of the video. But I'm planning on posting a lot more consistently and taking you guys along my journey. I want to post a variety of different art videos, ranging from some sketchbook tours, learning more specific things like shading or certain art styles, maybe some challenge stuff where, I only use a pen for a certain amount of time, that kind of stuff, as well as some of these project videos where I take you along with me as I try to produce a piece of work. So if this sounds fun to you, stick around, come along the journey with me. I think we're gonna have a good time because I'm really trying to do some cool shit, and it's really exciting to me when you guys are excited about it too. So have a lovely day. It's Friday, so I'm gonna stay in and watch something, probably watch some anime. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.